Hello again, Steve here. I just thought of something to comment on because my son and I had a little bit of a visit at Tim Hortons. It's a little coffee shop here. What was it about? No, we just had a visit with him because we hadn't seen him in a while and went out for a coffee. But he's actually going to be doing a presentation in a week or so about stress and how to help ourselves with stress that a lot of people have. And he used this term a couple times. We got to get out of our heads sometimes. And my son mentioned that later, that even though he was using different terms, he kind of understood what he was saying in a way, which is that because my friend at one point said that when we get out of our heads, a lot of things that we previously thought existed don't exist anymore, like countries, religions, these sorts of things. They don't exist anymore and my son was commenting on how, those things only exist in reality in our heads, right? Because, well, they exist on maps and they exist on computers and such like that, but those are only expressions, right, of what's in our heads. A river, if we draw a river on a map, we could actually go to that river and see that it's a river. It exists independent of our heads. Whether we're here or not, that's there. But in order for things that we create, words basically, they exist in our heads. And we attach them to things. Like rivers, like a river is a word, but we attach that word river to that physical thing, a body of water flowing down there. And once again, I'm just using words, but it exists independent of the word. Whereas so many things don't exist independent of the word. And therefore, yes, the head is important. Yes, the rational mind is important. But it's so important that we create fallacies and recognize truthfulness, right? It's like with the rational mind, we can observe the river, we could study the river, we could travel on the river, we could direct our bodies to travel on the river and so on with a canoe. All of that is true and valuable. But we also create all kinds of things for our convenience most of the time. But they exist purely in our heads, and they exist as a common language within our heads. Just like these words that I'm talking, those people who can understand English will get the gist of what I'm saying. But if they don't understand English, they won't. And, so much of the world as we know it is run by words because it's run by language, for good and for ill, right? So, but in order for us to see what's really going on, sometimes it's best just to get out of our heads and observe and be sensual, really, to be able to observe things through the empirical experience of them. It reminds me once again of the speech I heard of that guy in Toastmasters not long ago. And I mentioned it in one of my little presentations here a few days ago about how he did a speech. I didn't realize that he was talking about himself being a dog. I didn't realize that until near the end of the speech. And I thought it was great because the way he experienced the dog living was a purely sensual way of living. I mean, he would taste things, he would smell things, he would roll around on the grass and enjoy the feel of the grass and all those sorts of things. So we have that. But a lot of times, and that is sort of our empirical evidence of the world. But a lot of times we override that by things that are only in our head. You see, the experience the dog is having, that we can have, of walking across the grass, of tossing a snowball in the air or whatever, that exists in the real, tangible experience, right? It also exists in our head. right? Because we can also observe it and we can think about it and all that sort of thing. But so many things only exist in our head, yet we give them the same weight and sometimes even more weight than things that exist in the measurable, experienceable world as well. Just thought I'd share that. Getting out of our heads sometimes. And the other thing too about getting out of our heads, I've known people, and I've been one of them at times in my life, who, when constantly in our heads, actually end by stressing ourselves out. And that's one of the things my friend wants to talk about, is trying to help ourselves with stress by getting out of our heads sometimes. And I liken it to, this faculty that we have, this brain, this ability to reason and this work through things, is like another organ, right? It's like our legs. We have legs so we could walk. But imagine if we just walked all day. We never sat down. Like from morning, get up in the morning, and just everything we did, we never sat down. We just walk. We'd be burnt out at the end of the day. Our legs would be stressed, right? So it's the same thing with our brain, I think. If we're just running it all the time and worrying and concerning about this and about that, and got several ideas going on at the same time, and it's all a cluster, then it's like we're walking mindlessly all the time, right, with our legs and burning ourselves out, and wonder we're tired. So it's important probably to do things like meditation and whatnot, exercises to be able to quiet the mind once in a while, relax. It's like sit the mind down, just like when we sit down, we relax the legs for a bit. That's probably important as well. So yes, I think my friend, I'm going to go to his talk because I think he's got some value to share. And just the takeaway of talking to him, of getting out of our mind once in a while, is valuable, because so much of it that's in our mind is not necessarily a connection to what we can actually measure. So it's full of fallacies in that case, right? Or it can be full of fallacies. And also, it's a way of relaxing that part of our physical selves, because whatever we want to call the mind is a physical component called the brain, I would say, or the central nervous system, whatever it is, and which is connected to everything else in the body. So if it's constantly running, just chewing up data and just regurgitating stuff that doesn't really matter constantly, then surely we're going to be stressed. And I would say that this stress would turn up as, mental strife eventually. So just some thoughts on what I took away from a visit with my friend about the value of quietening the mind once in a while. Hope this is valuable. My name is Steve. Talk to you again.